Welcome to our channel, English Avenue. Today, we bring you the story of a man who changed the world forever. He is one of the most famous people in history, and even today, his name is known everywhere. He was a brilliant leader, a fearless warrior, a master strategist, and a lover of power. But his life was full of danger, betrayal, love, and war. And today, through this story, you will not only learn about his incredible life, but also improve your English in the most enjoyable way. This is your chance to listen, understand, and practice English effortlessly. So, are you ready to dive into the amazing life of Julius Caesar? Let's begin. Julius Caesar was born on July 12th or 13th, 100 BCE, in the city of Rome, the heart of the great Roman Republic. His full name was Gaius Julius Caesar, but at that time, no one knew that this little baby would one day change history forever. Caesar was born into a wealthy and powerful family called the Julius family, gens Julia. This family believed that they were descendants of the gods, especially Venus, the goddess of love. His father, Gaius Julius Caesar, was a respected man, but not the most powerful in Rome. His mother, Aurelia Cotta, was a strong and intelligent woman who played a big role in shaping Caesar's personality. From a young age, Caesar was different. He was not just a regular boy, he was ambitious, smart, and determined. He loved to read, learn, and observe everything around him. His mother made sure he had the best education, and he quickly became excellent in reading, writing, speaking, and debating. But Rome was a dangerous place. Power and politics were brutal, and Caesar's family was always in the middle of it. When Caesar was just 16 years old, a great tragedy happened. His father died suddenly. This was a huge shock for the young Caesar. Losing his father meant that he had to take responsibility for his family at a very young age. But things got even worse. A powerful dictator named Sulla took control of Rome, and he saw Caesar's family as enemies. Sulla ordered Caesar to be killed, but Caesar refused to run away. Instead, he bribed the right people and used his intelligence to stay alive. This was Caesar's first taste of power and survival. He learned that in Rome, you had to be smart, fearless, and always ready to fight for your life. At 17 years old, Caesar married his first wife, Cornelia, the daughter of a powerful Roman leader. It was not just a marriage of love, it was a political move. In Rome, marriages were often about power and alliances, and Caesar was already thinking about his future. But Sulla did not like this marriage. He ordered Caesar to divorce Cornelia, but Caesar refused. This was a bold and dangerous decision. Sulla was the most powerful man in Rome, and going against him could mean death. Caesar had to run away and live in hiding for a while. But this experience made him stronger, smarter, and even more determined to rise to power. After escaping danger, Caesar decided to join the army. This was the beginning of his journey as a great warrior and leader. As a soldier, Caesar showed incredible bravery. He was fearless in battle, and his commanders quickly noticed his talent. He won medals for his courage, and people started talking about him as a future leader of Rome. But Caesar was not just a warrior. He was a thinker, a strategist, and a man with a big vision. He knew that to become powerful, he needed to win the hearts of the people. One of the most crazy and interesting events in Caesar's life happened when he was still young. On a journey across the Mediterranean Sea, Caesar was kidnapped by pirates. Yes, you heard that right. He was kidnapped by a group of dangerous pirates who demanded a ransom, money, for his release. But guess what? Caesar did not panic. Instead, he laughed at them. The pirates asked for 20 talents of silver, a lot of money at that time. But Caesar said, "No, you are asking too little. I am worth at least 50 talents." The pirates were shocked. They had never met someone like Caesar before. He acted like he was the leader, not the prisoner. While waiting for the money to arrive, Caesar lived like a king among the pirates. He joked with them, gave them orders, and even promised that one day he would come back and punish them. And guess what? He kept his promise. As soon as he was free, Caesar raised an army, found the pirates, and finished them all. This event showed Caesar's confidence, intelligence, and ruthless side. He was not just a man of words, he was a man of action. After proving himself as a fearless soldier and surviving his kidnapping by pirates, Julius Caesar returned to Rome determined to become powerful. But Rome was a dangerous place. Politics were like war, and Caesar knew he had to be clever, patient, and ruthless to survive. When Caesar came back, Rome was in chaos. The Republic was ruled by powerful politicians, and many of them were corrupt. They controlled the money, the army, and the government, and they did not want new people like Caesar to rise to power. But Caesar had a plan. He knew that people loved entertainment, so he started organizing grand public events, games, festivals, and gladiator fights. He spent huge amounts of money to win the love of the people. Even though he was not very rich, he borrowed money from powerful friends to keep the public entertained and happy. And it worked. The ordinary people of Rome began to love Caesar. He became a celebrity, a hero, a man of the people. But Caesar did not just want to be popular, he wanted real power. And in Rome, power came from politics and the army. He began his political career by becoming a lawyer, where he used his brilliant speaking skills to win cases and gain more attention. His speeches were powerful, emotional, and persuasive. He knew how to make people listen. Soon, he was elected as a military tribune, then a quaestor, a financial officer, and later a senator. Step by step, he was moving closer to the top of Roman politics. But there was a problem. Many rich and powerful men in Rome hated him. They saw him as a threat because he was too ambitious, too popular, and too dangerous. During this time, Caesar suffered a great personal loss. His wife Cornelia passed away. This was a painful moment for him because she had stood by him during his hardest years. But in Rome, marriage was often about political advantage, so soon after Cornelia's death, Caesar married another woman, Pompeia, who came from a very powerful family. This marriage was supposed to help his career, but it ended in scandal. Pompeia was accused of having an affair with another man, and even though it was never proven, Caesar divorced her. He famously said, "My wife must be above suspicion." This showed how careful he was about his public image. He wanted to be seen as a strong, disciplined, and honorable leader. After the divorce, Caesar was sent to Spain to serve as a governor. This was a turning point in his life. In Spain, he saw a statue of Alexander the Great, the famous Greek conqueror. Caesar realized that when Alexander was his age, he had already conquered most of the world. But Caesar had done nothing great yet. At that moment, Caesar made a decision. He would not stop until he became the most powerful man in the world. In Spain, he built his own small army, fought battles, and showed his incredible military skills. He won the loyalty of his soldiers, and when he returned to Rome, he was even more respected and powerful. Caesar knew that if he wanted real power, he needed allies. He was ambitious, but he was not the richest or the most powerful man in Rome. So, he made a secret deal with two of the most powerful men in Rome. 1. Pompey the Great, a famous general, loved by his soldiers but struggling to keep his power. Second, Crassus, the richest man in Rome, who had more money than anyone but lacked popularity. They formed the First Triumvirate, a secret alliance to control Rome together. Caesar promised to help Crassus and Pompey, and in return they would support him. With their support, Caesar was elected consul, one of the highest positions in Rome. Now that he had power, Caesar wanted more. He became the governor of Gaul, modern-day France, Belgium, and parts of Germany. At that time, Gaul was wild, dangerous, and full of warrior tribes. No Roman leader had ever completely conquered it. Caesar saw this as his chance to become a legend. For the next 8 years, he led his army into one of the most brutal wars in history. The tribes of Gaul were fierce fighters, but Caesar was a military genius. He used strategy, intelligence, and speed to defeat them one by one. He built bridges in record time to cross rivers. He tricked enemies into thinking he was weak, then attacked suddenly. He divided and conquered, making sure the tribes never united against him. His most famous battle was the siege of Alesia, where he surrounded an entire city and starved his enemies into surrendering. By the end of the war, Caesar had conquered all of Gaul, making him one of the greatest military leaders in history. While Caesar was in Gaul, things in Rome were falling apart. His old ally, Crassus, died, and Pompey turned against him. The Senate, led by Pompey, ordered Caesar to give up his army and return to Rome as a normal citizen. But Caesar refused. He knew that if he went back without an army, he would be arrested and killed. Instead, he made a historic decision. He crossed the Rubicon River with his army, officially declaring war on Rome itself. This started a bloody civil war. Caesar fought against Pompey and his supporters, and after many battles, he won. Pompey ran off to Egypt, but there he was betrayed and murdered. When Caesar arrived in Egypt, he met Cleopatra, the young and ambitious queen. She was intelligent, charming, and beautiful, and she saw Caesar as the perfect ally and lover. Their love story was one of the most famous in history. Cleopatra wanted Caesar to help her stay in power, and Caesar was captivated by her beauty and intelligence. He helped Cleopatra defeat her enemies, and in return, she became his lover. They spent many nights together, and soon, Cleopatra gave birth to Caesar's son, Caesarion. But back in Rome, people were shocked. Caesar was already married to his third wife, Calpurnia, and many Romans did not like the idea of their leader having a child with a foreign queen. This affair made Caesar even more controversial. But he did not care. He was now the most powerful man in the world, and he had big plans for Rome. Julius Caesar had achieved everything he ever wanted: power, glory, and love. He had conquered Gaul, defeated Pompey, and taken control of Rome. The people adored him, his army was loyal, and his name was feared across the world. But Caesar was not satisfied. He wanted more. He wanted to reshape Rome, make it stronger, richer, and more organized. And deep inside, he wanted something that no Roman had ever dared to take before: absolute power, like a king. But in Rome, the word king was dangerous. Romans hated kings. They had overthrown their last king centuries ago, and they were proud of their republic. Even the most powerful leaders had to pretend to respect democracy. Caesar was about to change all of that. After defeating Pompey and spending time with Cleopatra in Egypt, Caesar returned to Rome. He entered the city like a god, wearing a purple robe, riding a golden chariot, and leading a massive victory parade. For 40 days, the streets of Rome were filled with celebrations, games, and festivals. Gladiators fought, wild animals were hunted, and thousands of people cheered his name. Caesar was now the dictator of Rome. This was not just a title. It meant he had complete control over everything. No one could question his decisions. He could make laws, declare war, control money, and punish enemies. But even though he had absolute power, he still pretended to respect the Senate. He let them keep their positions, but in reality, they had no real power anymore. Now that he ruled Rome, Caesar wanted to change everything. He started introducing big reforms, helping the poor. He gave land and money to soldiers and poor citizens. Fixing the calendar. He introduced the Julian calendar, which we still use today. Expanding Rome. He planned new cities, roads, and government offices, granting citizenship. He gave Roman citizenship to more people, making Rome stronger. The people loved him for this. He was making Rome better, richer, and more organized. But not everyone was happy. Many senators and old Roman elites were angry and jealous. They thought Caesar was acting like a king, and in Rome, kings were hated. Even though he was already married to Calpurnia, Caesar was still deeply in love with Cleopatra. She came to Rome with their son, Caesarion, and lived in a luxurious villa. This caused a scandal. Many Romans were furious that their leader had an Egyptian lover and a foreign child. People whispered that Caesar wanted to marry Cleopatra, make her queen, and even name their son as his heir. This was unacceptable to the Roman elite. No Roman leader had ever passed power to his son. Rome was a republic, not a monarchy. The Senate and many powerful Romans started to fear that Caesar was planning to become a king, and their fears became worse when Caesar started acting like one. Caesar made a bold decision. He placed his own statue in temples, something that was only done for gods. He also started sitting on a golden throne, wearing royal clothes, and acting like a king. At a public festival, his friend Mark Antony tried to put a golden crown on his head. But Caesar refused it twice, knowing that Romans hated kings. He pretended he didn't want to be king, but everyone could see the truth. He wanted power for life. The Senate was terrified. They knew that if they didn't stop him, he would end the Republic forever. A group of senators, led by Brutus and Cassius, began secret meetings. They believed that if they did not kill Caesar, he would soon become king of Rome and destroy the Republic. But there was one problem. Caesar was too powerful. He was loved by the army, the people, and many senators. So the conspirators decided to act quickly. They planned to assassinate him on the Ides of March, March 15th, 44 BC. The night before the assassination, Caesar's wife, Calpurnia, had a terrible dream. She saw Caesar's body covered in blood and begged him not to go to the Senate that day. Caesar, for the first time in his life, hesitated. He was usually brave and fearless, but something about the day felt wrong. In the morning, a soothsayer, fortune teller, warned him, "Beware the Ides of March." But Caesar laughed it off. He had never been afraid of anything before. Why should he start now? So he ignored the warnings and went to the Senate. As soon as Caesar entered the Senate, the conspirators surrounded him. Suddenly, one of them stabbed him in the back, then another, and another. Caesar fought back, but he was outnumbered. He was stabbed 23 times. Then he saw something that broke his heart. His close friend, Brutus, raised a knife against him. Caesar's last words were, "Et tu, Brute?" meaning, "Even you, Brutus?" At that moment, he stopped fighting. If his best friend had betrayed him, then it was over. He fell to the ground, dead. The conspirators thought they had saved Rome, but they were wrong. Julius Caesar was dead, stabbed 23 times by his own people, lying in a pool of blood on the Senate floor. The great man who had conquered lands, won battles, defeated enemies, and reshaped Rome was gone. But his death did not bring peace. In fact, it created the biggest political crisis in Roman history. The Republic was broken, Rome was in chaos, and those who thought that killing Caesar would save Rome had made the biggest mistake of their lives. Because the truth was simple. Caesar was not just a man. He was a movement, a revolution, a symbol of power. And his death did not stop that movement. Instead, it started a war that would change the world forever. When the Roman people heard about Caesar's assassination, they were furious. They had loved Caesar. He had given them land, food, money, and hope. He had made them feel proud. And now, the Senate had taken him away. But it was not just their anger that changed history. It was one man's speech. Mark Antony, Caesar's closest friend and most loyal general, stepped forward. He was smart, clever, and dangerous. He knew exactly how to turn the people against the killers. At Caesar's funeral, Mark Antony lifted Caesar's bloody cloak and showed it to the massive crowd. His voice was strong and emotional as he said, "Look at this blood. This was the blood of your hero, your leader, your protector. Look what they did to him. They called him a tyrant, but he loved you all. And now he is dead, killed by his own friends." Then Antony read Caesar's will, a document in which Caesar had left money and land for the poor citizens of Rome. The crowd exploded with anger. Within hours, riots broke out. The people attacked the homes of the conspirators, burning them down. The senators who had killed Caesar had to run for their lives. Instead of saving the Republic, they had destroyed it. After Caesar's death, Rome was divided. There were now two sides. One, the assassins, Brutus and Cassius. They claimed to be saving the Republic. Two, Caesar's loyalists, Mark Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus. They wanted revenge. At first, the Senate still had power, and they thought they could control the situation. But Octavian, Caesar's 18-year-old adopted son, had other plans. Octavian was young and inexperienced, but he had one big advantage. He was Caesar's son. In Caesar's will, Octavian was officially adopted as his son and was given his name, Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus. At first, people laughed at him. He was just a boy. He had no army, no experience, and no power. But Octavian had one thing that no one else had, Caesar's name, and that was enough. At first, Mark Antony and Octavian worked together. They formed the Second Triumvirate, a group of 3 leaders, with Lepidus. Their first goal? Revenge. They hunted down the senators who killed Caesar. Thousands were executed. Brutus and Cassius, the main conspirators, escaped to Greece, but they knew their time was running out. The final war between Caesar's murderers and his heirs happened in Philippi, Greece. On one side, Brutus and Cassius, Caesar's killers, a huge army of senators and their supporters. On the other side, Mark Antony and Octavian, the Roman army loyal to Caesar. The battle was bloody and brutal. In the end, Mark Antony and Octavian's army won. Brutus and Cassius killed themselves rather than be captured. Caesar's revenge was complete. After the war, there were only 2 powerful men left, Mark Antony and Octavian. At first, they divided the empire. Octavian controlled the West, Rome, Italy, Spain, and Gaul. Mark Antony controlled the East, Egypt, Greece, and Asia. But soon, they became rivals. Mark Antony made a big mistake. He fell in love with Cleopatra. He left his Roman wife, who was Octavian's sister, and moved to Egypt. He had 3 children with Cleopatra. He started acting like an Egyptian king, not a Roman general. This gave Octavian the perfect excuse to turn the Roman people against him. He told the people, "Look, Mark Antony has abandoned Rome. He has become an Egyptian. He is under Cleopatra's spell." The Roman people turned against Mark Antony. The final battle, the Battle of Actium, 31 BC. Octavian declared war on Antony and Cleopatra. At the Battle of Actium, Octavian's fleet destroyed Antony and Cleopatra's navy. Antony fled back to Egypt. Cleopatra followed him, but they both knew it was over. Rather than be captured, Mark Antony stabbed himself. Cleopatra, refusing to be humiliated, let a poisonous snake bite her, ending her life. With their deaths, Octavian was now the most powerful man in the world. In 27 BC, he took a new name, Augustus, meaning the Great One. He became the first emperor of Rome. The Roman Republic was officially dead. Rome was now an empire, and it would remain one for 500 more years. Julius Caesar's legacy, the man who changed the world. Julius Caesar was gone, but his impact never faded. He changed Rome forever. His name, Caesar, became the title for all future emperors. His ideas of government, military strategy, and leadership are still studied today. Even Shakespeare wrote a play about his life. Even today, over 2,000 years later, his name is remembered in every corner of the world. Julius Caesar's story teaches us many things. Never let fear stop you. Caesar was kidnapped, betrayed, and attacked, but he never stopped moving forward. Be bold. Take risks. He crossed the Rubicon, took Rome, and became the greatest leader of his time. Power comes with a price. His ambition made him great, but it also made him enemies. Your name can live forever. Even after 2,000 years, people still say his name. Julius Caesar may have died, but his legacy is immortal. And that is why his story must never be forgotten. And if you want to learn more about Cleopatra's life, I have already made a detailed story about her. In that video, I explained everything. Her childhood, rise to power, love story with Caesar and Mark Antony, and her tragic end. It's a perfect story for improving your English listening.